Hey, what's up, guys? Colin Bass from the Power Rangers Extended Universe, and you're watching Action Activate. Omega Access, SPD Emergency.
What is up, everybody? It is me, Gazbot, and I'm here to talk to you about the Nerdbot Productions Power Rangers Extended Universe Bloodline to the Grid 2. But that means this is Action Activate, and if it's Action Activate, then with me, as always, must be...
It is I, the Big Dog, here to also talk about the same thing that you are.
Yes, I feel like there was a lot of energy there because it's very hot in my house because we have no air conditioning, and it's California. So I'm like, I before we started, I was like, oh, I'm like, we're going to talk about Power Rangers. I'm like, here we go! So, we started talking about this before we started recording. All right, let me get back to just you and me. So you were like, hey, I think this, that. I'm like, yeah, me too. And I'm like, wait, let's record. What are we doing?
Yeah.
We're wasting it. So, what were you saying?
I was saying this episode is about 28 minutes long, and it felt very thorough. Like, I feel like there wasn't a lot of downtime. Like, It was about the length I thought it would be, but it didn't feel like it was rushed or drug on. It was just like boom, 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 kept on chugging.
I could agree with that. I recently went back and rewatched episode 1 about a week ago to refresh myself. And I was reminded, like, okay, yeah, it was like, I think it was like 12 minutes long, including credits and everything. So when this one was coming up, I expected it to be about the same length. And then I saw it was closer to a half hour. I was like, whoa, okay. Then when I watched it, though, it didn't feel like, it felt like you said, just kind of clipped along real quick.
Yeah.
Let's talk about expectations going into it. What did you think? What were things you were thinking about that you had seen, you'd expected going into it versus what happened, I guess? There
was the same amount of action that I expected, but distributed differently than I expected.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I'll touch on it more when we go in. There was less morph sequences than I thought, but I wasn't like disappointed that there weren't more. It's just the way that certain things were hyped up leading into it. I thought other people were going to morph that didn't.
Gotcha. I mean, it's hard to know what they're going to do, but the two things there was a lot of cameos from past Ranger actors that had been announced. And I always say this, it's like a dual-edged sword because, like, I wish I didn't know, but I understand they need to promote it. So it's like, I get it. But specifically Roger Velasco, who played Carlos in Space, comes back. And I was thinking that was going to be a quick thing. Often they're quick things that then go away. And so we're skipping ahead, but by the end of the episode, I kind of forgot he was going to show up. And then he did. I was like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I guess that's it. But I'm like, no, they kind of left it. Like, I think he's coming back, which I like. They kind of set it up. Mm-hmm. And then some of the other actors were a little bit more what I'd expect. And then Patrick David, as Psycho Red, was in it way more than I thought, which I thought was cool because I thought he was a cameo from the other one. And, maybe we'll see him a little bit here and there, but he's like a main character now, which is cool.
Yeah, I think to me, like, first of all, everybody I think did very well in this episode. Yes. But similar to what you're saying where they had a bigger role than I thought, I feel like Patrick David, like, low-key stole the episode.
Well, and I mean this with love. If I know, we're not friends, but I know the man. And if you know the type of things I love, he was very sincere. He was playing it straight, but he was chewing the scenery.
Yes.
And there was just a little teeny bit of camp in there. Not so much it like destroyed the integrity of the scene, but he was there to be the one that, even though he was the most evil, he was sort of like in a weird way comic relief. And I don't mean that in a bad way. There was just something. Yeah, he's just entertaining to everyone else. Is like, this is the end. This is so serious, and he's like, like, it's kind of fun.
He broke the tension, even though he's the one that also created some of the tension.
Right, and like he shows up to try to kill the Red Raider, and that's funny somehow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and TK's kind of the one to like be the voice of the audience, almost of like, what?
Yeah.
is anybody else understanding what's going on? Because I don't.
Why is this okay? This is yeah, I agree. Yeah, and but again, even though we're singling them out, everybody did a good job. I think also the characters like TK and then not Andros, Red Raider. I think they're upping their game. They're knowing those characters a little bit more. Like every time I see them in any project, it gets a little bit more cohesive, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, because I always talk about CGI. Overall, the CGI in this was very good, and there were parts
Agreed.
wow, like the spaceships and stuff. But the scene we just saw, that little smashed area, that's my least favorite part of CGI in this entire episode.
It didn't bother me.
Well, I guess because if I'm wrong, correct me, but it doesn't look like an artist created. Well, some artist somewhere created it, but no artist working for the show. It looks like they found an asset and we're like, let's just color code it to the pavement, and there it is. And I understand that has to happen sometimes, and it happens in Power Rangers sometimes. But it's the thing of like so much of the other stuff was so good that I'm like, it's just so noticeable to me. And maybe it's because we don't actually really see it even happen. We just see the aftermath. You know what I mean? Like, whereas if there was like, I don't know, it's a small nitpick, especially again, like the energy there that had like little waverings and just the background lightning. It all works. I'm sorry, I always got.
It's just a you thing.
It is. It's just so much of it was so good.
The thing I liked about this episode, and I'm trying to think of something that we've talked about that's non-Rangers that I had a similar sentiment, but this was mature without like trying to be over the top.
Right.
And that's one thing that I liked is like they had a swear word or two here and there. They obviously had blood, but it wasn't like
it was PG-13, not
even if they did push it to R, like I feel like they could do it and it makes sense, and it's not like upping the ante in that regard just to say they did.
It's not. They're not trying to do shock value.
Exactly. It's like
agreed.
This kind of makes sense. Like if you saw a scene where one of them like ripped someone's arm off, I'd be like, all right, that makes sense.
But I would expect it to either be a robot or something, or if it was a biological person, it wouldn't be a geyser of blood. It would be like tastefully done, like you see a shadow. Or
but I'm saying like that would be something you would consider more like PG-13 or like upping the ante in that regard, where I'm like, they could do any of that, and I'm like, you're not just doing it to do it. I could easily be like, Psycho Red did this because he's Psycho Red, and you're like, yeah.
I do. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say like they did a great job establishing like he has goals, but he's also kind of just gonna do what he's gonna do unless he has to be like hard checked.
Yeah, he's got the chaotic in him for sure.
Yeah.
But he's going along, but he's a little bit of a wild card. As far as I know, Patrick David, the actor we're seeing here now, I don't know who the suit actor was in the original series. I have suspicions who it is in this, but it's not. I don't know. We could look at the credits actually. But as far as I know, he's the face as he was in the original series, and he's the voice as he was in the original series.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I bring this up is because there's something, the audio matching to the video when he speaks, it looks like, I don't know if they're putting a filter on it or what, but like, I understand sometimes actors have to redub their lines and whatever. But he and Andros seem to be in the same space. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're green screen together. But I keep saying Andros, Red Raider, whatever. He's still Andros.
It's both, yeah.
Christopher Kamen Lee. He's speaking, and whether or not he's redubbing his lines, it looks natural. It doesn't look natural coming out of Patrick David's mouth. And I don't know if that's because he's the Psycho Ranger and it's supposed to be weird and there's a filter on it, or like the take got ruined or whatever. Like it was just a question mark of like, why is his voice different? And my first thought was, did they have someone else dub it? I'm like, but no, he does the voice. So I don't know. Like, do you know what I'm saying at all or no?
Kind of. I have a feeling it was a thing like where they did ADR because of like wind or something, and his just turned out differently.
I'll play it for a second so people can see what I'm actually talking about. And that's very cool. Don't get me wrong. And his face acting is great. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. If I didn't know he did the voice, I would think somebody else was doing the voice, I guess. And that's also a testament to him that that doesn't sound like his real voice at all. He's definitely doing an acting job on the voice.
Yeah. I think this was a good kind of establishment of like Andros can clearly beat him, but he does need his help. I like that. Yeah. And I felt like also, not jumping too far ahead, that Andros was likable now. Like the first episode, you're kind of like, why is TK working with him? Because you've kind of just painted him as a villain. And this
Right.
one, you're like, oh, okay, he's still Andros. Cool.
For the greater good, kind of willing to walk the dark path, as opposed to like, I'm just corrupted and evil now.
Yeah. And David Fielding doing the kind of voiceover in the beginning was awesome. Voice of Zordon. I like how they established that in here where I'm like, I don't really know what they're doing based on episode 1. In this one, it's like they're trying to stop the grid from being abused by X, Y, and Z people. And I'm like, yeah, that's perfect.
It makes perfect sense. And it's one of those like, oh, that's like a concern anybody at any time could have. Like, you know, like powers that be getting more powerful. And like, yeah, sure, I get it. And they outlined it, I think, later on, much later, when they're talking to Devin from Grid Battle Force, where they're like, yeah, he's like, what's the big deal about like government sanctioned ranger teams? We've had that. I'm that. And he's like, yeah, but the grid still chose them, good or evil. They were chosen. And then they worked with the government, but now they're taking that away and just like, here's your morphing power, everybody. And like, I thought that was very good. Yeah. And also the idea that using it that way is reducing the power of the actual chosen heroes.
Yeah.
I like
this whole scene coming up.
Very good.
I love that they expanded on the turbo side of TK this episode.
Yes. Little super speed blast.
Yeah. And he gets the other sword later. Like, I like how it's not just like, this just looks aesthetically cool because of my dad. It's like, these are the two powers put together.
And it's also, when he did this, he didn't do his normal like morph henshin. He calls for the turbo lightning power specifically, and he doesn't morph, which is cool to see a different use of the power. But also, we know they have to conserve grid energy, so it makes sense that rather than morphing completely, he just used part of the turbo power.
Yeah,
and do a little super speed. Yeah, this whole thing was a lot of fun.
This was awesome, and this is one of the few times I feel like in any of the extended universe where like cronies and henchmen actually felt like something that needed to be dealt with.
I love the way, and again, going back to CGI, like I feel like this stuff all worked fine. You know, it was all good. I love the way the little probe was like pop, 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 almost like planting seeds, and then they pop up. I thought that was a very cool way to do it. I like the redesign of the not cogs, Crybots.
Yep.
I think they look cool. They look similar enough that you know what they are, but it's like an updated redesign. I dig. I like the way they move the actors they have doing them. I don't know if they're mimes or dancers or whatever, but they do a really good job of seeming like robots, and then they get like damage and they're like, you know, and like put themselves back together. He has a lot of good comedic stuff here. Yeah, and then the fight is just a lot of fun. Like this whole thing. I hate these commercials.
It's a cool thing too, because I feel like this gives us a good version of seeing like how TK is versus how we've seen him so far. Whereas because of how the timeline works in the extended universe, we're seeing TK earlier, quote unquote, than what we've already kind of witnessed him in.
And also a different side of him.
Past. Yeah.
We've seen a little bit of this side of him, but we've also seen like the no nonsense. We gotta, whatever, but this is a little bit more of the fun side.
Well, I feel like too, because he's so comedic in this, to me, it showed like why he gets so annoyed by Sam and Shattered Past. He's like, man, being this, just, goofing off all the time is really annoying. It's like, that was literally you, though. That's what you did.
And this goes back to what you're saying, too, where he tries to shoot him, but they all put up these shields.
And I love, they almost never did this in the show, I feel like, unless I missed it, where like they actually split it into two. I feel like that was never really a thing.
You would remember better than I do, but I don't remember that. I always think of that as an SPD thing only, but there's probably other examples that we're not known for our awesome memories.
Well, no. I mean, they used the blaster in space, but they never took that top off. So
right. I'm saying, but in SPD, I remember Red would always take them apart or put them together. Like that was.
Oh yeah. Well, he just had two, and then the Mega version was like.
Right. I guess it's the reverse, but yeah. And then some, to my untrained eye, some solid martial art stunt work here.
Yeah.
A lot of like, what I could tell was like there was some that was like, okay, 3 or 4 little gags happen in a row in one take. So it's like, okay, kick that guy, dodge this, he flips over a bunch. And I thought to myself, I'm like, oh, that's gotta suck. Like you do that and then you mess up on like the 3rd one or the 4th one. It's like, now let's do all of them again. And like it'd be so much easier to do a cut on each one, but like they didn't, so props.
Yeah. No, I appreciated that from a filming perspective of having, less jump cutty fights and more, longer cuts in between before.
Okay, one guy takes down 2 guys right there. kicks him, still the same shot. 3, takes out this guy, and then cut there. So at least 3 in that shot alone. But yeah. But then
just the resilience of the Crybots was a little scary, to be honest.
Yeah, it had like a kind of a robot zombie thing going.
Yeah,
I was a big fan of, like, I have nothing but good things to say about the Crybot, the way they were handled, the way they looked, everything, and the whole scene. And DJ as TK did a good job and everything. But the Crybots are the new thing to like comment on.
Yeah,
I would. They'd be cool. Well, we're never going to. I forgot. This isn't real Power Rangers. I mean, you know what I mean. It is, but it isn't. We're not going to get a Hasbro.
You forgot that we're not getting official merchandise from this property.
Well, they do have jackets and comics and things, but I don't think that we're going to get a Crybot figure. I could be wrong, but I was about to say, I'd like a Crybot for my shelf, but
yeah. So here we see him get the Spiral Saber. Fight still keeps happening, and then Andros comes in and was like, "Hey, let me help you out a little bit."
And this is me being dumb, but it didn't occur to me last time that they each have a Spiral Saber.
Well, his is the Spiral Reaver. He calls that in the first fight.
Yes. What I'm saying is we've seen this before. This is me being dumb. That it didn't occur to me that they essentially both have a Spiral Saber. Yes, I understand it's differently titled. It clearly is the dark energy version or whatever. But it just for some reason didn't click that, they both have one somehow still. Like, that's cool.
Yeah. Both them fighting was cool. I like the whole, you set him up, I'll knock him down. And I liked too, just kind of showing, I mean, I haven't watched In Space in a while, but it seemed very like, and I don't mean this in a negative way, brutish, the way they like took down these Crybots together, that I liked, kind of showing the difference in Andros of like, I'm gritty, I'm dark, I'm just getting the job done. Like, I'm not about flair, I'm about, wrecking things.
And I also think that that's a natural extension of who Andros was. Like, he was definitely a more, positive, idealistic young man or whatever. But even then, it's like, most of my team died. I don't know if I deserve love. What's going on with my sister? Hey, everyone's here. Like, there was always a melancholy about him, even though he's like a force for good. And so you get the impression he's not like the kind of hero that's like, I'm hopeful for the world. He's like, the world is garbage. Everything's horrible, including me. And I'm just going to do my best to make it better and try to save people, even if I don't enjoy it. And so this seems like a perfect natural extension of that, where he would go from there.
Yeah.
Especially he talks about having not been able to save his sister. So something even worse happened in his life. And,
Yeah. So right here we see them, go back and forth a little bit, talk about the Crybots using grid energy, which is very relevant for the rest of the episode.
That explains why they have. And I also like, not only does that make them tougher, but he's like, when did they learn how to fight? Because there's always that thing of like, if you get grid energy, you're a martial artist now.
Yep.
And that even if you're a Crybot, you're a martial artist. So that's cool.
Yeah. Cool finishers here.
I love this. You're talking about the morphs.
This was so nothing against any other extended universe thing we've seen. That is by far the coolest morph sequence we've seen.
The fact that they had like the flash, but then they even had a little bit of the in space morphing complete.
It was so cool. Like, this was just,
he's all like, whatever, so flashy.
Chef's kiss, man.
Yeah, so good. I don't think we'll get a copyright strike from these guys, but like, I'm doing my best to not.
Yeah, I was going to say, just keep jumping forward, because I'll be honest, we're only a third of the way done and we're 20 minutes in.
You be honest. Well, I really enjoyed this.
I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I'm saying we both have mild time constraints.
Yeah. True. Okay.
But the dual wielding here, I love. I'm glad they actually introduced the Turbo Saber. I forget what it's called. I always liked the design of it, though, even from the movie.
I like the turbo suit designs, even though I don't like the Zords. I always liked the suits and their gear. Although I do like the Megazord, the Turbo Megazord, which is whatever. But anyway, I like Turbo more than the average person, I think, is generally what I find.
Yes.
But I always say that's because I didn't watch it as a kid. And so I just watched it as an adult and I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Here comes Psycho Red, which we know is actually a Psycho Green suit.
No, I don't think that's true anymore.
Oh, that's not true. They have an actual Psycho Red.
I think they had to do Psycho Green and color it before, and now I think this is a legitimate Psycho Red suit. If anybody who actually knows what their behind the scenes stuff is, knows in the comments, please let
some
us
of the
know.
people that make these sometimes watch our reviews, so there's a good chance we could get an actual answer there.
Yeah, but this to me looked like its own thing.
I mean, the suits are identical except for the color. So how can you
I think the helmets are different.
Are they?
I believe so. This looks more narrow, and the eyes look different than Psycho Green.
Okay, the question then I would have for you or for whoever is, if assuming they're different, which I'm not saying they are, but assuming they're different, is that a case of, hey, we've designed Psycho Green to be slightly different, or just, hey, a different prop maker made this and it was slightly different, just the way the way that happens?
I think both.
That's a non-answer. Let me. We're gonna get an ad. I don't want to keep showing ads on this.
But Psycho Red comes, immediately attacks Andros. TK's like, "What the heck, man?" And then he brushed it off and was like, "Ha ha ha! You trying to kill me yet again? You
know what,
devil? You."
I liken it to when your dog attacks, not a real dog, like your dog. Attacks you, or your cat attacks you, or it's like, come on, get my arm. Ha ha ha. Yeah,
I've never attacked you guys.
No, not a big dog.
Sorry, confusion.
But you know what I mean, where it's like, it's kind of playful and like they're never really gonna hurt you, and and I feel like Andros just kind of finds it amusing. But I do, we talked about this a little bit, but the way TK reacts to it is more the appropriate way to react to it. So they do their little electricity dance. And he's like, and you get the feeling that Psycho Red even knows he's not going to get him. He's just like, I have a free pass to attack this guy whenever I want. So that's fun.
So if this has been officially said on the live streams, full transparency, we have not watched all of the live streams or anything.
No, I especially don't like, it's funny because we were waiting for this to come out. We were going to put this out the day it came out, but we were going to do it during the day and it didn't come out till 6. So that's why, we're not always the first ones to do stuff, but this time we were going to be, but it's like, oh, it didn't come out till 6. That ruins our plan. So now it's coming out a few days later. But when I was looking, like, where is it? I saw that there was like a live Q&A with the cast talking all about episode 2. I'm like, I don't want to watch that. Not now, maybe later, but like, I want to go in fresh as I can,
Yeah, I feel like Christopher Cameron Lee was like, Andros is a Jedi. This is solidifying it. Because like everything he does is just Jedi. Jedi mind trick when he's Andros, and now that he's a Red Raider, he has Force lightning because he's a little bit Sith. Like, all right, that's what it is.
And he is a co-creator or co-creator. I forget.
Both.
I know he co-writes it, but I don't know if he co-creates. And if I always keep going back to when I interviewed him a couple of years ago, where he basically said, like, in space is Star Wars. Like, there you go. It's funny. I put Colin Bass at the beginning as our little intro. And I was like, oh, I want to do something that's in this episode. But I'm like, oh, but I also have Christopher Cameron Lee. I'm like, oh, I also have, and I realized I have like 3 or 4 people that are in this that I have interest for. But I was like, well, Colin's the one I just got, so he gets to go to the front of the line.
It is cool that we have most of the cast of this series, though.
What's that?
I said it is cool that we have most of the cast of this series as intros or interviews.
Yeah.
Right here, TK's like, yeah, what are you guys doing? That ship is dope, by the way.
That ship is, but also to be clear, this is where Psycho Red Virgil is like, hey, look at these cards. They're manufacturing specific Ranger powers. And I'm trying to remember, have we seen that before in this series? We saw him carrying these cards, Red Ranger, Red Psycho. But the idea that they have different, like, Power Ranger insignias on them, was that in another extended universe episode? Did David Yost's character have those maybe with him or something?
No, I don't think he had different cards. He had different morphers.
Okay. Maybe I've seen them elsewhere in the real world.
I feel like you've seen them in the real world, but also I think those were at the end of episode 1.
I guess that's just what it is. Yeah, this ship, the inside and the outside, again, going back to good CGI, like, and maybe this is an asset that they bought and modified. Maybe they created from scratch, but it looks good. It looks like it's in the environment. I love it. And then we cut to Earth, SPD training compound. I spoiled this for myself because I follow Nerdbot and I follow Crimson Vision and I follow all the people involved with this. I follow Colin. So I see things come up and I'm like, oh, I like them. What's going on? And I saw this whole scene. I didn't realize it was from this. I thought it was just like, oh, here's a training thing, or here's because somebody's just filmed little things and whatever. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I wonder what that's from. And then when I was watching, I'm like, oh, well, I see this already. But it is cool, and it looks like my guess is that they have some kind of motion capture suit that they have people running in using, and then they just translate that to these little cube pixels. Maybe they're purchased assets, but it works really well. It's like here's an easy way to get a really cool effect it just worked really well.
So,
And go ahead.
I was going to say, this is another case of no offense to Shattered Past Sam's wardrobe. Something about like the uniqueness of this and the slight changes, I'm like super digging.
Well, technically it's the same character, sort of, and it's the same actor, so.
Yeah, well, I know, like, the reason I say that, and I'm sure Colin's watching this, is Shattered Past is Colin's baby, and then they took Sam and put him in this, and some of the tweaks in here, obviously you can't do, at least where we're at, in Shattered Past, so that's why I'm like, I like the red jacket a little bit more, because I'm a Red Ranger stan, so.
Well, that's fine, because I prefer him as the wild card Omega Ranger.
Hey, I just like Sam O'Neill, not from actual SPD. I don't like the ball of light Sam O'Neill that we were used to, or the little kid that like got into hijinks.
I will agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
So now he gets now I like once again that Justin Nemo came back, because a lot of times I've said this before, and I understand why. It's a comment, not a criticism, that sometimes these veteran actors come back and they do one scene and we never see them again. And sometimes that's set up well, where we know, and sometimes they kind of just disappear because life. But anytime they continue, because he's the commander. Now, I don't know if they shot all his scenes back in the day or he came back for it, but I love that it's like, okay, he was a hologram the first time. Now he's actually here, and they, that's great. I love it. Here's my ignorance. The actor next to him that was from Lightspeed Rescue, I saw an announcement that he was going to be in it. I see him in it. He seems like a fine actor. Am I supposed to know him? Was he in a season of Power Rangers that I'm forgetting? Or...
No, this is a new guy.
Okay, so he's just a regular actor from the world that they said, hey, you're a good actor. Come be in our thing.
I believe so, yeah. Because when they explain it here, they say that Lightspeed Blue recruited him.
Right, but I didn't know if he... I just didn't know what I didn't know. And I figured that, but I figured I'd ask you. Well, I was going to ask you off the air, but we're on the air now. And so I just is this somebody from like Mystic Force, or is this like a stunt actor that I didn't know who they were, or, but okay.
I have no knowledge of him. And if so, it's just due to my own ignorance, but I don't know him as a Ranger actor now.
I love Justin Nemo's hair is going silver, like gray, whatever you want to call it. And I don't know if he used to dye it, because I saw him just like a couple of years ago. And it was black, but I love, he's the Silver Ranger. And
I know.
It fits so perfectly. Like he doesn't look old at all, but he's got that silver. And I'm like, yeah, Silver Ranger, silver hair. It works. And he used to have like the blonde hair. So it's this weird thing where like his real hair is morphing into a more appropriate hair color for his character. Or something. Like, I don't know.
And it's a thing, like, I don't remember him wearing like the uniform outside of morphing very much on the show, but like, it's so much cooler than it has a right to be versus like the other like light gray versions that everybody else got.
That's true. I mean, he definitely wore it a couple times, but you're right. It wasn't like an all the time. That's unfortunate still.
I love the tension here where this guy's like, hey, Sam, you're kind of the worst. And he's like, I get the job done. That's what I've heard. Hey, who's this guy?
Right. But Zane does a good job of like, hey, look, this is hard. None of us could do it or we wouldn't be working together. Right. So like just everybody play nice.
And this is the thing, too, where usually when it comes to things like this, Power Rangers are not, when they're like, this is classified and blah, blah, blah. This legitimately felt like, hey, I'm being like super serious, because we're usually pretty transparent. But this is a big, big deal. Please don't talk about it.
I was half listening to what you were saying. I heard what you said, but I wasn't giving my full attention, because I'm looking at these shots and I'm like, why is there a Crybot in this scene? Did you notice the Crybots walking in with them?
Yes.
Okay. I, again, being stupid, just put it together that like, oh, these Crybots are like sanctioned. They're working for the organization. And and I'm like, because I think originally I was thinking they were part of the hologram simulation or something like that, like just part of the training. But I'm like, oh no. So when TK was fighting them, he was already directly like I didn't make that connection the first time through, because it was, and I like that. This is not a criticism. They didn't make a point of going, by the way, here's our Crybots that work for us and we're powering them with more. It's just like a connection in the background that's how it'd be. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So sorry.
No, it's fine. Everything about this like felt like, I don't know what word to use for it, but felt like legitimately like elevated in terms of the stakes.
Sophisticated storytelling.
Yes.
Now that I've said all that good stuff, I do have one complaint about this scene. Can you guess what it is?
Something about an effect somewhere with the lighting and the voice.
No, I thought the effects were great with the holographic fighters and the sword and everything. No, what's the other thing I always complain about? Sound, man. Sound.
Oh yeah, that's what I said. Sound.
You said sound?
That was the final thing of the like giant run-on sentence I said.
Oh, so you're like, here's 15 things. It's one of them. We can hear them. It's fine, but they're clearly in a big warehouse, and it's that thing of like realism versus clarity, where it might have been a choice that, hey, they're in a warehouse, so we're going to leave it echoey. That's a valid choice, not a choice I would make. Or it could be we filmed with boom mics and filmed wild. They didn't use lapel mics. They didn't want to ADR it, and it's like this is just what we have. Either way, it's not egregious. I can hear it, but I noticed it. It was very noticeable to me, and so I was like, I wish it wasn't that way, because everything else about this scene was perfect except for that, in my opinion.
I feel like I noticed it a little when I watched. It didn't really bother me though. It was a thing. I'm like, this is here for a reason, and I'm letting it be.
Yeah, well, and I can't remember, because I know we've talked about this in other times, and I know sometimes talking to Colin in like one of the ninja ones, I forget which one, he had said like, yeah, it was a bad audio take, and that we cleaned up as best we could, and that's all we could do. But I know there have been other times, like under one of the scenes where they were under the tunnel overpass, where it was a similar kind of echoey, and I can't remember if it's a choice or if it's we got to do what we got to do. Either way, it's not the end of the world, but it's just the better these get, and they do continue to keep getting better, the more I'm like, oh, these little imperfections. And you're right. Probably the average fan is not noticing this stuff. I don't know why I fixate on it so much. I mean, I'm not.
You're a weirdo.
Well, no, I am a weirdo. I'm not on the level of anybody involved in any of these, and I give them all the credit in the world. But I do a little bit of filming and a little bit of video editing and a little bit of like that kind of stuff. And I think it's just because I pay attention to it sometimes because I have to. Then I pay attention to it all. And I do this for like, movies and TV shows outside of this as well. Like I'm sure you've heard me complain about this kind of stuff in other things. I love this is very good. I want to be clear about that.
Yes. One thing, since we see Ecliptor's head right there, which is a great effect, by the way, that I found funny is when we interviewed Colin, he was talking about like Anime Pasadena, I think is what it was. Yeah. And he was talking about like, doing the behind the scenes stuff of getting people there. I love how he was like, we have Lex Lang here. You know what he's been in? Like everything. And then I look in the credits, it's like, oh, they got Lex Lang to do his Ecliptor voice in this. So I thought it was cool that he was like gushing there. And then I see here, I'm like, oh, you like maybe could have like legitimately worked in the same like space during this. I'm assuming it's separate, but I hope for Colin's sake, like he was there like, oh, dude, I'm a huge fan. Like, by the way, we have Anime Pasadena. What are you doing?
I would assume there must have been some kind of genuine connection, although maybe not, but it would seem so.
But
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask, did you fully get what he was saying about like Andros being Ecliptor's kid?
No, I don't think Andros is Ecliptor's kid. I don't think that was true. Or if it is that, I didn't. They were saying that Ecliptor had some sort of offspring energy. He's a monster alien. He didn't have like a baby, but there's some sort of piece of him that lived on, or some sort of energy signature, which is what Andros is using, and that is like corrupting Andros and whatever. But I did not take it as Andros is Ecliptor's son. I took it as whatever energy Andros is using, that is the offspring of Ecliptor. That's how I took it. And maybe they're thinking we stop that and Andros is going to be okay and whatever, which might not be true because Andros made a choice and whatever. But that's how I took it. Is that not how you took it?
I took it as he and Corone are legitimately like spawn of Ecliptor.
I don't remember the backstory of their family. But that would mean that like Ecliptor's fatherly like way towards her was more literal.
Yes.
Like in the original show. It could go either way, I guess. That's not how I took it.
Oh, go. Okay, go here. Did we figure out what the one on the far end is?
I think somebody in the chat, the comments told us, and I already forget. I think is it a Sentai?
I can't remember if it's a Sentai or not, because I know the one on the far left is. I forget what they said it is in the comics now, but it's the one that Psycho Green is from.
Let's see if we can find. There's some real time searching, everybody.
Oh, there we go.
It kind of looks like this. No, that's Zio. Wait, no, that's Zio. Lightspeed, Lost Galaxy. Is it Lost Galaxy?
No.
This is not a
Oh,
production.
is it Time Force?
Hold on. You know what? Someone in the comments tell us. We could find out later. I don't think we want to do Google searches in our episode.
Yeah, if it's in order like that, it should be Time Force then.
Maybe, but it does kind of look. Yeah. Tell us in the comments, or we'll look.
One of those, Overdrive, and then the team that I forget what they're called in the comics. Like I said, but it's what Psycho Green was on.
Yeah.
The
Virgil Power team.
Yeah. So that I think that's cool that those are in there because it, calls back to the comics and makes sense. Because I think a lot of this they're drawing from the comics more than they're like letting on. But we'll see.
Yeah, that makes because the comics progress the timeline further and we're a little bit more mature.
Yeah.
I love that background thing right there. I don't know what you call that, but it reminds me of Star Wars. Again, there's a lot of Star Wars stuff, but it reminds me of at the base when they're like the Death Star is coming in, or when they're Hoth base, they're like, oh, the AT-ATs are coming in. Yeah. It's just like a piece of glass with etching on it that somehow is futuristic. How does that update? I don't.
Another thing I liked about this is Andros doesn't brood the whole episode, which is what I low-key expected. I expected him to brood, and the fact that he didn't, I think I liked it that much more.
It makes the brooding more effective when you take
Yes, exactly. We're not oversaturated by brooding. And again, just like Psycho Red over here sharpening his sword and then immaterializing it into the grid of yeah, I killed some guys. What's up? This is a little light murder.
Yeah, that's what I do. I put him to sleep.
Oh yeah, they took a nap. I love how he just says it so just blatantly false.
Yeah. You know what? There's a little bit of, and not the exact same energy, but the way they are acting on the team makes me think of Margot Robbie, Harley Quinn. When she's in Birds of Prey or on Suicide Squad, where she's sort of with a team of people that are taking it kind of seriously and being heroes. And she's not bad, but she's like, what are you guys being so serious about? Oops, I killed that guy. Anyway, let's do the mission. There's a little bit of that energy, I think, which is nice.
Yeah.
Rory Travis, is that his name?
Yes.
As Devin.
Dude, loved this cameo.
It was great. We, I feel like this was our little, hey, Beast Morphers, that's our team. Here we go, action activate. I love this for several reasons. One is just, soft spot for Beast Morphers. Two is it's so trippy to see someone that was a ranger a year and a half ago already doing this. Usually it's a little bit further removed. So it's they're all further down their career or older in their life or switch. He's a minute after the last episode of Beast Morphers showing up. Yeah, I'm the commander and what's going on. I have a little bit of a mustache now, but this is season 3 Beast Morphers. I'm here to, and so there's something really weird in a good way about that. And he's the closest to his character from the show than anyone else, I think. Yeah,
I was gonna say the Beast Morphers characters in this felt the most organic, and that's not against anybody else, but it was just seamless when I saw them because we just saw him in what'd you call it? It was in the team up.
I know that team up.
Dino Fury. There we go. Wait, was it Dino Fury?
What are you talking about? No, he was in Beast Morphers teaming up with Dino Charge and Mighty Morphin.
That's what it was. I'm so out of it. Sorry.
That was the season.
Anyways, we just saw him, and I love how for all of the people in their civilian clothes, they seem so right. It doesn't need to be this giant jacket with all this random stuff. It's there's a Beast Morphers logo right here, and I'm wearing a pullover. You're yes, because that's what it should be.
Right. And they probably has a more formal dress uniform, but anybody that's worked at a company, it's and you might have this nice outfit, but then they give away hoodies all the time, or, oh, here's just a t-shirt with our logo on.
Yeah. I love that. And especially that it shows he changed that mindset of the previous commander who was always in that garb all times. It's you're not bad at your job if you don't wear the uniform at all times,
Some might argue that it's an inverse, where the other commander who was a little bit not great was making up for it by looking the part and speaking the way, and he's just doing his job. But speaking of the previous commander, here's his daughter, Betty's character, Christina Ho. Is that her real name? I love this.
Yes,
I love it so much because I don't know if it's the writing, the directing, her performance, some combination of all of them, but Rory Travis is Devin. He's the exact Devin we saw by the end of the series. Perfect. She is everything that was good about Betty without everything that was bad about Betty.
Yes.
She's comedic relief in a realistic, charming way. I love it. I am here for it. Yeah. And she's still doing the face acting. So
yep.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me to hear when I was watching this earlier. They were saying like the two of them dated, right?
That's the implication that they dated or hooked up maybe. And he just took off. And she's like, you just took off. You didn't even tell me, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'm a fugitive. And her dog ate a sandwich next to a transport beam and disappeared, so it's, they had some sort of relationship that he walked away from, and she is not happy about it. And what would be kind of a funny little, Easter egg is if they threw that dog line in, and then later you find out that, the dog turned into Rick. Rick? Who's
from
Rick?
SPD.
Oh! What? Oh, man, that'd be crazy.
I know. It's like, yeah, and then there was some beam. They hit your dog, and I don't know. And then it's like, by the way.
I like where your head's at, but I feel like didn't they explain SPD how Rick was built already?
You mean the show that came out in 2005 before this? Yeah, they probably did. I don't care.
No. I'm trying to remember how deep into the backstory of Rick they got. I don't remember. But no, this whole thing was a lot of fun. The sad part is it makes it seem like we probably won't see them again, although maybe they'll show up with some information.
Yeah.
But this is a perfect example of they came in, did their bit. If we see them again, that'd be great. If we don't, okay, it's fine. I could. Emotionally, I'd like to see them again because it was fun to see them. And kind of like we were saying, there's so many intense characters and so many grave situations. Anytime you can lighten it up a little bit, it's a good balance. Just like if Andros broods the entire time. Hey, if you're always brooding, you're never brooding, right?
I also obviously, scheduling is a big thing for these projects, which is why there are sometimes gaps.
The lighting is really nice in here. Sorry.
Yeah, this whole setting is just phenomenal. Yeah. I feel like too, if we had a Clash of the Red Ranger situation where he's like, I can't come, but I have a really good mic at home, and if you guys find a suit actor, I will record whatever you want. It's like, all right, fine, twist my arm.
Yeah. I'll RPM Red in
yes.
That's what we said, Clash of the Red Rangers. Gotcha. Because I'm like, that reminds me of Clash of the Red Rangers. That's what I said, idiot.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? The other thing I love here is they're like, why are you helping us? And it's like, well, because you're right though. Yeah, just awesome stuff right here. Love the logo, the subtlety right there of showing that it's Grid Battle Force. Everything was great.
And then they're flying, and again, this is good spaceship stuff. Is it the absolute best I've ever seen in my life? No. Is it as good as stuff I see on TV right now? Yes. And this is when I was like, oh, that's right, Carlos is going to be in this. And I'm like, there's not a lot of time left.
The only thing that bummed me out, similar to what you were saying about them saying he's going to be in it, is I wish they just said Roger Velasco was in it. I wish they didn't say what his character's name was supposed to be.
Right, because we knew he wasn't going to show up as a buddy.
Yeah, he's like Hunter RX or something.
Yeah, well, and he is still Carlos, though. He's not a new character a la David Yost and that other where he was whatever. He is Carlos, but clearly he's not hanging out with Andros as part of the Red Raiders, and he's not with Zane as part of the established whatever. He's his own thing. And
yeah, he seems like a mercenary.
Yeah, or maybe a bounty hunt. Well, bounty hunter mercenary. What's the difference? But
yeah, Clash of the Red Rangers. That's what it reminds me of.
Well, I guess there is a technical difference in that bounty hunters are slightly more well regarded than mercenaries because usually they're working with some sort of law enforcement to get a criminal, whereas mercenaries hey, maybe we're subjugating a village or guarding a.
Are you saying that Boba Fett and Din Djarin are always working with militaries or police forces?
I'm saying Boba Fett.
Ninja Steel.
No, taking that away. But first of all, let's not talk about Boba Fett. Let's just talk about the only Mandalorian that matters. Din Djarin is a higher caliber of character than a random mercenary, is what I'm saying. Also,
tomato. Keep on going.
Anyway, yes, I agree. That would have been the hybrid of saying, "Hey, Roger Velasco, aka Carlos, is going to be in the series," but not. And even if they showed him looking a little bit scruffier or whatever, they didn't have to say what he was. I found it interesting in the scene that Virgil, aka Patrick, aka
Psycho Red. You don't need to. You can look at the credits. You're spending so much time trying to big brain everybody.
Well, he made a big point of saying, "Call me Virgil." So I'm like, all right, he's Virgil now. But I don't know what he's plugging in to the defense system. I'm assuming he's like firing the weapons and stuff, but any one of them could have done that. So they make a point of him like so maybe it's his power that's shooting out, or he's augmenting it in some way using morphing energy or whatever.
I feel like he like merges with Deca so he can fire from the ship.
I agree, and that's a cool idea. But this is me being a victim of my own like thinking of an expectation to be because he got in and it said airlock, and my thought was he's getting in the airlock. He's just gonna like Psycho Red just shoot out and be like, "Wah!" It's just like attack the ship, like just rip it open and get in.
You're right. That is 100% of your headcanon steering you wrong.
But I'm like, I'm like, why is he getting in the airlock? Oh my, he's just gonna do like a spacewalk attack or just like fire light. Like that's gonna be awesome. It's still a cool idea, but I definitely like psyched myself up for something that wasn't happening.
Yeah, and we haven't mentioned it yet, but Roger Velasco is really cool in this.
Yeah, no. Again, the only downside is that we kind of knew it was coming. But if he's not, this is a case where if he's not back in the next episode, I'll be like disappointed. Like, oh, if you're like, oh boy, luckily we got away from him. You know, like, oh man, that's things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I expect to see more of him. Okay, so here's the credits. So overall, very, very good. One of the best we've seen yet from the expanded universe or extended.
Yes,
universe.
Agreed.
Yeah. I know, again, I had nitpicks, but think about what they were. Like the sound wasn't so great, and I didn't like the CGI, and I also invented a scene that was never going to happen. Those are my nitpicks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was super solid, easily an A. Just, you know, chef's kiss across the board.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
The only thing, this is a Gaz-like nitpick. When you guys say you're going to release an episode, personally, I'd prefer if you released it like early in the morning. So we could just like a midnight. The second the day happens. When you said 6, I got a little like I had a single tear. I was like, oh, I gotta wait all day. Well,
and as I said earlier, that we were going to record the day it came out, but we couldn't do it at night, and so it was like, oh well, there. So now we're putting this out. We'll probably go today. We're recording this Thursday. It'll either go up today or tomorrow, so it'll still be pretty quick. But well done, everybody. Keep it up. Looking forward to episode 3. Any final thoughts there, Big Dog?
It was really cool. Kind of like you said, a lot of seeds being planted here that I'm looking forward to see where they go. And kind of like you, we're so used to, like, thankfully now we're spoiled that we have so many different fan series on YouTube that whenever we see someone, I don't expect them to come back, and when they do, it's like that much better.
Yes, agreed. I have a question. They in this episode referred to the CTD war, which clearly was like the in space war. What does CTD stand for? I didn't
Countdown to Destruction,
because that's the title of the episode. That's fantastic.
It took me like 3 times hearing it. I'm like, what could that possibly mean?
I mean, I knew what they were referring to. Well done. That's a ninja steal for you, because I was going to have to look it up if you didn't know. So, well done. Here's the
I think that's so cool that, like, after the fact, that could be a thing where they're like, Operation Countdown to Destruction went real bad until it went great with the Z-Wave.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. So now we'll wait however long until the next one. And I don't know. I wonder if they know how many episodes they're going to do. This might be something addressed in the live stream, because I know that like the next Shattered Past that's the final one, for example. Yeah. But we don't know how many this has.
Yeah, I'm curious the plans there, but also like, and we've talked about this before, where we get the limitations of these series.
Yes.
Obviously, you know, you're using an existing property. That makes funding very difficult. Obviously, scheduling and everything. This, to me, is a grade A example of, like, this is not any of my opinions, but just opinions I've heard or read online of like, why do they take so long in between episodes? Why do we got to wait? Blah, blah. This is just like well worth the wait. It was twice as long as the last episode. Top notch, everything, acting, story, plot, fight scenes, CGI, everything was just awesome. And that just shows like, take the little extra time and do this, as opposed to try to rush it out and then, you know, potentially fumble.
And on the flips, ideally, it's kind of like that thing of like, you could have it fast, cheap, or good, pick 2 kind of thing. Ideally, I would get it quick and good, but I'd always rather wait and get it good.
Yeah.
What I've seen, not from anybody in this team, not from Nerdbot, not from Crimson Vision, but others out there, which I will not name, sometimes it's the worst, where you wait a year and it's not worth the wait. You know what I mean? And then it's like, why did this take a year? I could see why this took so long, and that's fine. And I'll gladly wait just as long for this quality or better, you know. But yeah, if the quality goes down, you can't have the wait time go up and the quality go down, which is not what happened here. But that does happen. And I don't, that at that point, it's almost like, well, I don't know, we're going off on a tangent. They didn't do that. They did a good job. Hooray.
Yes. And I also like the expectations they set of, they showed little things. They're like, the episode's going to come, don't worry. And then they said, it's coming out this day.
Yeah.
And then it did. And it was great.
Yes. Should have come out in the morning. But other than that, yes.
Yeah, exactly. What was your letter grade for it?
I will give it an A. What did you give it, A or A plus?
A, yes. I gave it an A. I feel like, and that's nothing against this, I feel like A plus, just because, like I said, we've been spoiled. Unworthy's great. This is great. All of Colin's series are great. Like, there's so much good content that, like, I'm going to give the A plus to the one that, like, changes the game for me.
I could think of a few things that would make me give it an A plus, but they'd be very well, yeah, either what you said, or, you know, maybe a certain favorite actor shows up that, like, subjective to me would make it an A plus. But
if in the next First Ninja or Rise of the Ninja or whatever, Casey shows up, you're like, well, it's an A plus. I don't care what happens. I'll watch it on mute.
Casey will show up, then it'll be the worst CGI I've ever seen, and the sound will be so bad I can't understand what anyone's saying. And then Antonio shows up, and I'm like, okay, A plus, doesn't matter.
It'll be like that PS1 graphic effect of them like coming through a portal. You're like, I don't care. I don't care. They're here. They're here.
And then at the end, one more bad thing happens, but Robo Knight's like, hey. Yeah.
And then Selwyn Ward went, you rank? Okay. TJ just shows up and he's
now
like,
I'm going to again be disappointed by something that'll never happen. This is bad. Let's not build these things up. Someone Ward shows up at my house. How you doing? All right. Until then, this was great. Keep it up. I've been Gazbot.
Still the big dog.
And
to the power.
Whoa, a punch maneuver. Here goes the credits.
We
had some echo going there.
I keep, every time the credits roll, I keep looking at all the pieces of accoutrement we have in this, and I'm like, we still have those, right? I don't have that hacky.
I definitely have mine. Because one of them's a grid battle. Well, it wasn't. It was Go Buster. The Go Buster Speed. And I think I'm wearing a Battleizer from the Japanese and Space Morpher, and I have the Tokuger. Rokugo's weapon. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah. Anyway, the end. Love you. Goodbye.